IHOP versus Denny's versus Waffle House. These three names are synonymous with America's classic 24-hour diner culture, places you can walk into at midnight, order a stack of pancakes or waffles, and still feel like you're at a second home. But behind this shared experience, all three actually came from origin stories and business models that are surprisingly different from one another. Waffle House started from a simple idea worth just $4,000, dreamed up by two neighbors in Georgia back in 1955. Denny's, which didn't actually start as a diner at all, and IHOP, which even once caused a stir across America by suddenly changing its own name. In this video, we're breaking down the history, business models, and operating philosophies behind these three diner giants, and why, even though they all sell an experience that feels similar, the paths they took to get there turned out to be very different. Let's start with Waffle House. Their story begins in 1955, when two neighbors in Georgia decided to open a small restaurant with an initial investment of only around $4,000. Just imagine the scale of this investment, an amount that was already considered extremely small for starting a restaurant business, even back then. But from this tiny amount of capital came one of the most iconic, most recognizable diner brands in the United States, one that would keep growing over the following 7 decades. This was an extremely modest beginning, but it became the foundation for a business philosophy that Waffle House would hold on to firmly throughout their journey, something we'll dig into further as this video continues. Unlike Waffle House, Denny's actually has a fairly surprising origin. They didn't start as a diner at all. This business initially focused on donuts, before later shifting focus toward coffee shops. Only after going through these transformation phases did they eventually evolve into the 24-hour pancake and burger restaurant we know today. This is a fairly unique brand identity journey. Instead of starting with a clear vision from day one, Denny's actually found their final identity through a series of business pivots, experimenting with various concepts until they finally landed on a formula that genuinely worked and has lasted to this day. IHOP itself had a fairly stirring moment in their brand history. They once announced a temporary name change to IHOB, a marketing move designed to promote their new burger menu. This name change immediately sparked a huge stir among the American public. Just imagine consumers' reaction when a brand synonymous with pancakes for decades suddenly changed its name to promote burgers. But interestingly, right at their 60th anniversary moment, IHOP decided to switch back to their original name. This is an interesting example of a bold marketing experiment, deliberately creating a stir in public conversation, before eventually returning to the original identity that had already been so well known for 6 decades. Now we get to the most fundamental difference among these three brands: their ownership structure. Waffle House has never operated as a traditional franchise. Every one of their locations is directly controlled by the company, and perhaps even more surprisingly, their shares have never been publicly traded on a stock exchange. This is an extremely significant structural decision. Just imagine the implications. Without pressure from public investors demanding quarterly growth, and without independent franchise owners who might have different priorities at each location, Waffle House maintains full control over how every single one of their locations operates, from one end of the country to the other. By contrast, IHOP and Denny's grew large precisely through an extensive franchise model. Thousands of independent operators run their locations under each brand's license. This approach has a fairly clear advantage. It allows for much faster expansion, since the parent company doesn't have to bear the full capital cost of opening every new location. But there's a trade-off that comes with it. Consistency in taste and experience across locations tends to vary more compared to Waffle House, given that each independent operator has a bit of room for differences in day-to-day operational execution. This is a classic trade-off in the franchise business world: speed of expansion versus full control and consistency. IHOP and Denny's chose to prioritize growth speed, while Waffle House chose the opposite path. The geographic spread of these three brands also very clearly reflects their respective business philosophies. Waffle House is heavily concentrated in the southeastern United States, their home region since the very beginning. IHOP, meanwhile, has a stronger presence along the East Coast, particularly in the densely populated tri-state area. Denny's, on the other hand, tends to follow interstate highway routes, especially outside densely populated areas, a location strategy that makes sense for a diner synonymous with long road trips and roadside stops. This spread pattern isn't a coincidence. It reflects the different expansion strategies each brand adopted, tailored to their respective business models and target markets. Out of a total of 5,471 24-hour diners mapped, the numbers turned out to be fairly evenly balanced among the three brands: 1,949 Waffle House locations, 1,789 IHOP locations, and 1,733 Denny's locations. Interestingly, Waffle House is now approaching nearly 2,000 locations, spread across 25 states, since their very first location opened in Avondale Estates, Georgia. Just imagine this growth. From one small location with $4,000 in capital in 1955 to nearly 2,000 locations 7 decades later, without ever using a traditional franchise model at all. Waffle House's reputation for never closing even gave birth to a fairly well-known official phenomenon, the Waffle House Index. This term was coined by a former FEMA official, the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency, named Craig Fugate, after he noticed just how resilient Waffle House locations were at staying open during natural disasters. This is a fairly remarkable acknowledgement coming from an official government agency, using a restaurant chain's open or closed status as an informal indicator of how severe a natural disaster's impact is in a given area. Just imagine the operational resilience reputation a brand has to build for a federal government agency to use their status as an official reference point. The system itself is actually fairly simple. If Waffle House is open with a full menu, their status is marked green, a normal situation. If they're open but only offering a limited menu, their status is yellow, a fairly serious situation but still manageable. And if they're forced to close entirely, their status is red, a sign that the situation on the ground is genuinely severe. Even more surprising, Waffle House's restaurant design itself originally didn't even include door locks, because they were never designed with the assumption they'd ever need to close. Just imagine this level of operational commitment. A business literally designed from the ground up on the assumption that they would always be open, no matter what was happening outside. All three brands sell the same classic American diner comfort: warm pancakes, bottomless coffee, and service available whenever you need it. But the path each brand took to reach this iconic status turned out to be genuinely different. IHOP and Denny's chose to grow through scale, leveraging the franchise model to expand faster, while experimenting with various menu changes and marketing strategies along the way, as we saw with the IHOP controversy. Waffle House, meanwhile, chose the opposite path, prioritizing strict consistency through full corporate control, never handing operational authority over to outside parties. So, what's the big lesson we can take from comparing these three iconic diner brands? This is real proof that even in the food industry, there's no single right way to become an icon. Waffle House proves that full control and strict consistency can build a reputation so strong that their open or closed status becomes an official indicator of natural disaster severity. IHOP and Denny's proved that a more flexible franchise model can drive rapid expansion and bold experimentation, even if it means sacrificing a bit of consistency across locations. There's no single formula that's objectively more correct than the other. All three brands equally succeeded in building a loyal fan base and a deeply rooted cultural status in everyday American life, despite taking genuinely different paths to get there. This is a valuable reminder that long-term business success, even within the same industry, can be achieved through operating philosophies that are genuinely opposite to one another. If you enjoy business comparisons and brand history breakdowns like this, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss other interesting breakdowns. See you in the next video.